are going live. Yes, and we are live. We are live on the whole of Facebook and the nation. And out of that nation, 15, 20 of them might want to see us, which is not bad out of 70 million people. But good evening to everybody that's watching us on record, and obviously some will join us live. If you do want your name to appear in the comments, there is a little thing. Go and visit StreamYard, and it will allow the third-party access to display your name in the comments. If not, just put your name next to your comment. Say, "Oh, hi, I had a great week, and I've done this and whatever." And what you guys been up to? Don't just leave it blank, because we don't know who you are. Put on, "Oh, it's John, or it's Graham, or it's Paul, or it's Ben, or whatever," and then we can address you properly. Yeah, we're Paranormal Monday live. Puppy Power Unified Paranormal Investigators. We're only here for one reason, and that's to unite the whole paranormal community. Paranormal community.
He's frozen again.
Sure about. He's also paranormal, and it's back. Yep. Do you know what, Sky? She pays a £5 a month, right? And she rang him up and she went, "The internet's not working, blah, blah, blah." The girl spent an hour on the phone. She went, "Oh, well, I can't sort it for you." She went, "Well, what about the £5 guarantee?" She went, "Oh, I know nothing about that." But that's Sky for you. You know, it's like
guarantee she can fix it.
Yeah,
she guarantees she can
ringing up the insurance.
Fix it, mate.
Yeah. No, Puppy Power Unified Paranormal Investigators. Anything that's not paranormal is also paranormal. If you think about it, how many times you heard that knock in the kitchen or something outside the door? You open the door, find nothing there. That's paranormal. It's not necessarily a spirit, it's not necessarily a ghost, but that's what we investigate for. Daniel's the youngest cryptozoologist in the world at the age of 14. He's had, I'm sure those that watch these lives regular and whatever on record are aware that you know, you've been following this and whatever the great evidence. We're hopefully going to be joining him next week now, depending on weather. If not, we're going to have to wait another week to get up there, but we will do it. It's within 2 weeks now. It's within 2 weeks. It's 18th of next month. 18th of next month, down Bridgewater area. If you're interested, come along. We've got some of the top guys from cryptids and cryptozoology that are going to be live streaming and attending the event. And John Downs is going to be doing book signing, all in order of they got me down Stephen again for me. All in aid of charity. We've got Luke from my group, South Coast Guys. We've got Paul, co-host on Puppy. He's got his own group, Host the Ghost. And we come up, Jen's in the background, I dare say, somewhere. So if you hear some noises, that's not paranormal. Well, it is paranormal, but it's just Jen.
Nothing normal there, mate. Nothing normal there.
And we are Puppy. We're Power Unified Paranormal Investigators. And we do this every week. It's a non-profit making. We do this for fun, believe it or not. Anyway, we had a great meetup last Friday at the Harvester, yeah, it was good. We had a nice meal and we had a nice chat and whatever. That's the sort of thing we do at Puppy. I think I told you, Daniel, didn't I? We just met up. I think it was last night, wasn't it? We were on, yeah. I told him, you know, that's the sort of thing we do. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. We'll have a good laugh. We all have a good get together. And it's a social thing. It's a social thing. We did Shore House on Saturday. You were there last year, weren't you, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were, weren't you? Yeah.
That's where I caught the shadow figure in the basement, wasn't it?
That was it, yeah. And do you know what? Right? To this woman and her son who came along, who haven't been with us since Fort Widley, caught. Oh, mate, I'm like, where have I seen that before? Caught the same shadow figure in the basement. It's a woman, and you can see her in the basement. Do you see it, Luke?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Did you see the picture she took? Yeah. She
I wasn't
zoomed in
sure,
on
yeah.
it, and there's this woman standing there. Yeah. We're only in the basement briefly because it ran completely different to last year.
You did, yeah.
There's a coach knocked down the main wall, so you can't go in the front car park. You've got to park around the side. You know them mounds that you walk over, they were put there through the battle of something centuries ago for battlement emplacements and whatever. They're still there. Amazing. And we walked in, and 45 people. It turned out we had chaperones on the group, which were employed by the trust. And I'm thinking, here we go, here we go. We're going to be watched and so forth. But do you remember them really annoying? They've got these light switches down here, right, which are sensormatic, and they've got these controls for them, which have got, instead of having an on-off button or a dimmer, they've got like half a dozen controls, haven't they, Paul? Remember them? And it's like, what do you pay?
Yeah.
Well, they took in charge of that, yeah, which was quite nice. And it turned out that the young girl I had on my team, she was banging into the paranormal, and like me, anything paranormal, well, like us, anything paranormal, anything unknown or a sound or things like that, yeah. And she was quite helpful because she was like saying, yeah, there are things associated. If you can get it with this room, well, like, yeah. She went, yep, that's happened in this room. Yep, that's happened out there. And we were there till 2, and about 1:30 in the morning, we sat in this room. And somebody went, is there somebody outside there? She went, no, nobody will be outside this time. The other guy over there went, yeah, I think it was Ryan, turned around and went, yeah, I can hear voices outside. So it's a corner room. So people have got up and they're looking out, and there's nobody there. There's shining torches and stuff like that. And there's a few voices, and like nobody's there. It's like nobody's outside. We saw shadows under doors and things like that, and people were running out to the door in the long corridors. There's no escape and things like that. But a good one, because obviously Julie and Neil run Power Nation events. If you want to check out their powernation.co.uk. We've got the boat next month, and then we've got the Peacefield Museum as well, which is going to be superb, awesome. And I think you're on that, Paul, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Good. Need you more, mate. I know the reasons, but we need you on more. And then Shepton Mallet in January. I'm told there's only about 10 places for Shepton Mallet Prison left, which is quite interesting, because that's a big event. I think we've got about 50 people there. Shepton Mallet's where the craze were. Honestly, Daniel, it's barbaric, mate.
I've been in Shepton Mallet Prison, yeah.
It's barbaric, mate, isn't it?
How long are you in for? How long are you in for?
Did you see the holding cell when if you were brought in during the night?
Yeah.
The prison, I mean, it's like 2-3 foot deeper than the rest of it.
What?
So when he opened the door, the others couldn't climb up. I mean, you'd have anything like 8-year-old kids scrumping apples in there to sort of like rapists and murderers. And it's like all together. So if you're interested in coming along, I mean, the paranormal activity there is just absolutely amazing. Wow. After that gets dark, that really, really gets amazingly haunted. Get along to the Power Nation site, have a look at that. We're going to try, if the weather's good, to do Waverley at least one more time before the year's out. Would you all agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get some great results there. Great results. But no, Shore House, it was quite active, wasn't it, Luke?
Yeah, it was quite good, yeah.
We had quite a bit of activity. I mean, the one thing that struck me was we went, I mean, I had a team of 10, and we all went to the first room. I mean, I suppose there's probably 12 of us. Here's John. Evening, John.
Nice.
Mate, good to have you.
Evening, buddy.
I'm sorry I'm late.
And we are we're sitting in this room and we're getting some meters go off, and I've got this man coming to, and then this woman and whatever. It's all getting confirmed by the chaperone, if you like. And then I looked down at my watch and I went, we've been in there an hour and 20 minutes, just sitting at this table. And it's just purely due to the energy that I believe. And I said to people, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to go up to the green room or whatever it is, or go for a coffee and a fag? Then we'll go somewhere else. Yeah, we'll go for a coffee. Okay. Went down for coffee. Christ, we better get going again. Went to the next location. Same thing happened here because there's so much coming through. And it was really interesting. We only had a couple of miserable ones, should we say, but nothing really nasty. Everything else was really positive. Human pendulum in the main hall. If you can imagine, like 50 odd people on the human pendulum, yeah, going around. It took some time to get the energy in, but when it did, it came. But another couple of things which you'll be interested in, Paul. I've put in the description. Both Daniel and John and myself have all shared a small paranormal sort of or unexplainable experience, starting from yesterday morning. I said to Daniel, I said,
it was crazy.
I don't know whether I'm going to stay down overnight, bring the splinter, yeah, or whether I'm just going to drive up and drive back, yeah. But if you let me know the postcode area, then I will look on search for sites and anywhere for a caravan site or a park up, yeah. And that way, you know, I've got somewhere to stop for the night. He went, okay, mate, no problems. I'll get back to you in a bit with that. I'm like, oh, okay, no way. So I've gone on search for sites. I've just gone, and I've gone straight to one site beside a reservoir. And
yeah.
I've sent it over to Daniel. I went, this looks like a good spot. Also a water source. Maybe a water source for them.
It's
and
right. It's right opposite the forest. Right opposite the forest.
Now at this point, you know, stepping in and out of the paranormal world as he is, he's thinking, "Oh, is this fat guy stalking me? How did he get that? You know,
crazy, mate, crazy that was."
And then last night, was it last night yourself? I mean, it's right on the forest where we're meeting. It's like there, yeah,
literally on it.
And I've actually had a 50-mile radius of sites to pick, and this is not just caravan sites. This is caravan camping club, motorhome caravan club, free spots, pub stops, things like that. Yeah, and last night we were on. So you know, one out of sort of like probably 200 places I could stop. So 1 in 200 chance I had of getting that right if Daniel had asked me to do it, which he didn't. And last night we were on, and Jill was like, his grand's going, oh, that was quite spooky. Yeah, he did say and whatever. I said, you've also got a friendly spirit in, haven't you, near you? And she went, we were all laughing. She went, we do actually. I said, I know you've got a friendly spirit in near you. She went, yes, we have, didn't she?
Yeah.
And then we were talking a certain name, whom I mentioned to Daniel when we first met on here. And
Darren, I don't know if you saw the chat last night, but that was interesting. What John put in. Yeah, that's weird.
He has written to Daniel as well, and his first real message, or his second message, was, would you like to come in the woods with me in the dark? And we were all discussing a little bit, maybe a little bit freaky to a 14-year-old boy you've never met. But I'm not going to shame on here or name or anything like that. So that's not what we're about, yeah. But when we finish the live and whatever, we can mention the names. I think it's important everybody knows and aware who they may be perfectly fine people. You know, may be phrased wrong because
definitely,
hard to phrase a text message, isn't it, or convey yourself in a text or whatever. So that's why we're not going to do it on here. But myself and John were sat here on the live, and I said I'm feeling like Winchester, something like that. And then John all of a sudden piped up. You went, yes, I'm feeling Hampshire, didn't you, John? And after the live, John did a little bit digging, and turns out it is Hampshire.
Yeah.
So
I laughed at that. Honestly, I was in bed. I laughed at that.
So poor Daniel sat there in the morning quite happy. Then all of a sudden he gets stalked on search for sites, right bang on. and then these two crazy guys sat there on his live in the evening, figured out exactly to the point where one person that may be a weirdo lives. He's like, no, this is mental.
Okay.
But I don't know how it works. That's paranormal, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's perfectly normal. We just don't understand the physics behind it yet.
Wow.
I don't.
Well said, John. Well said.
I don't like the word paranormal or supernatural because I think it's normal, it's natural, but we don't know anywhere near as much about the workings of the universe as we think we do.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Right.
No, human beings are very clever creatures, and I think we are dumbed down so much that what you just basically said there is we don't know how clever we actually are.
Yeah,
very true. Yeah,
and we certainly don't know how everything works.
Yeah, very true.
No, people think that we explored the whole of the earth. We haven't. We've taken photographs of the whole of the earth.
That's just arrogance. That is.
Yeah.
That's and Darren, as I have a moment, I'll ask you a question.
You have a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
A question that I haven't asked you before is: do you believe that Bigfoot is completely paranormal, or could have elements of flesh and blood, or one-on-one?
I've got to be careful on if I say completely paranormal because people's perception of paranormal. Yeah. As I keep trying to reiterate to people, paranormal to me is just anything I can't explain naturally. Yeah. And it's something that I want to investigate now because it's unknown to me. Yeah. If I could put up South Coast unknown group, yeah, I would. But people would go, unknown group, what's that about? And it never be known. I believe it's flesh and blood, without a shadow of a doubt. I believe it's flesh and blood. I believe it's quite somewhat similar to ourselves, and somewhat more intelligent than ourselves in different ways. And the way I would explain that is like a dolphin, bottlenose porpoise. Its brain, it uses a lot more than what we do, and it is more intelligent than what we are. Hence the reports of mammals, I don't know if anybody's seen them, attacking small boats over the last 6 months in the oceans.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, the killer whales.
So, killer whales, yeah. You've seen that, John?
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah. They've been actually attacking. I think I mentioned this to you, Paul, didn't I? That there'd been reports of orcas and whatever nudging and chasing boats out of areas.
Wow.
Yeah, due to the magnetic pull has changed.
They know
because that's what they use, don't they?
Yeah, they know we're screwing it up. Now, when we put these wind farms in the sea, that's what's the generation of electricity is just really setting them off. And when we're putting these big, Bigfoot areas, I mean, if you go across Cornwall or somewhere like that, Bodmin Moor, and it's always been strange sights. It's so popular over there.
Yeah.
And you're putting up all these wind farms and so forth. Now, we as human beings object to the 5G mast being put outside our front door. how do you feel these things feel about the desecration of their natural environment? So I believe they've possibly been here before we have. Yeah.
I'll add to that, Darren, is that
go for it, mate, honestly.
When in my opinion, yes, I want to find hard evidence that Bigfoot is real, but my opinion is humans, as we think we are at the top, we're not, and actually we're actually destroying their habitat. We really are.
Yeah.
And names for who I won't say are destroying this, and it's not.
Yeah.
Which is why I go, hold on a minute. Yes, it's all good and well, scientists wanting to find them, but why don't we just leave these creatures alone? Because then what we've done, we might make them extinct, and on, like we have. And which is why I go, hold on a minute then. I'm torn. I don't know whether I want to find it, but I want to find it in the right way. Which is as you're saying, Darren, you've got things being built now that are disrupting their habitat. When people say you don't have enough land in the UK, we did. We did have enough land here.
We haven't now.
No, we haven't.
Going now, and
remember when them wind turbines turn, when you got to also remember when the wind turbines, they create vibration through the ground.
Yeah.
So what's to say that that's not disorienting, even in the sea, whether they're in the bottom, as that frequency, whatever you want to call it, and that frequency vibration could be why the animals are getting more disturbed. And if wind farms on the ground, what's to say that Bigfoot or any animal that's sensitive to vibrational movement is not picking these up?
Yeah, very true.
I'd be surprised if it's not picking it up personally, because even if you're not picking it up, you are picking it up. Like these frequencies, when we go on a paranormal investigation, you're picking them up. And for something
it's all about energy, isn't
it? Yeah, we've had someone join us here. I think it's Debbie. Can you put your name beside it, because we haven't got a clue who you are? But she does like your Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Your makeup is exquisite. I think also another thing to ponder about is if the government was to come out with that they existed and they were in an area, whether it be in the UK, the States, or Canada, is irrelevant, then there would have to be a protection put in place on that area, which means they wouldn't be able to put their wind turbines up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so very, very true, Darren.
Wouldn't be in their interest, mate, because you've got to look at everything on this planet as money. Everything is money. In 2020, 62 families controlled 50% of the planet's wealth. Hi, Simon.
Evening, Simon. Welcome aboard.
7.8
billion. Where you're creating vibration, also when you're creating vibration, as a frequency, isn't it? And this could be
everything
what throws the animals out, because a lot of animals do go on frequency, don't they? But all that type of thing are looking for frequencies of vibration to move, like birds use the don't they, to move around the world when they fly out to the south for summer and back to the winter. And
I will say that it is I've heard a lot of stories of Bigfoot doing the same thing. Bigfoot using vibrations to then use I've heard that stories from America. I don't know whether that's Trooper
Here-
here,
here-
I don't know
here's-
yet.
Well,
we do
when
racing
I lived,
pigeons, and they take them, you know,
yeah,
Mm.
them pigeons don't know where they are,
your
and then they
internet
race back across.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's to do with the weather.
can you stand on the
But
chair,
if you
mate?
think
Hold
of-
it above your head like that.
Chip,
Try that.
how about the job we're on?
When I lived in Scotland, it just shows you how this is just an idea for you how these things could exist and hardly ever be seen. I lived in a place called Port Soy, just outside, and with my real mother who's still alive, and we never got on well because I hadn't been brought up as my mother, and I ended up in a place called Banff, and anyway, I had gone blah blah blah. There was a place down the road called Duff House, and it was reputedly haunted and so forth. And I did a bit of research and so forth, and I managed to meet a few people. This is when I was like 21, 22. That actually experienced ghosts, and one guy had taken his two Dobermans over there, let them off the lead. They chased something that he'd witnessed as well. One never came back. One came back, and it was that insane he had to have it destroyed. Now these stories are hushed up all the time, and I'm like, that's interesting, yeah. Anyway, there was a few events led up to me going into the cupboard, finding a tent and a sleeping bag, a mess tin, and an hexaburner, and just heading into Duff House Woods. Duff House Woods are quite extensive. Another guy came with me, and we had two dogs. And we walked down towards the Bridge of Alva, and then I said, right, this is a good spot. Headed off into the left-hand side through a heavy overgrowth. This is about 2 miles into the woods. And I found a clearing. I set up the tent, camp, and whatever before it got dark. We had a brew and we sat there. Now, I had been told that there were wolves in Duff House Woods. And everybody turned around and said to me, don't be so bloody stupid. People would have seen them. Well, the dogs were, I noticed things that other people don't notice. The dogs were acting a little bit strange. There was some strange dog muck around. It wasn't so solid as a normal dog you would expect, and it's more grey in colour. And anyway, we set our camp and we sat there, and the moon was out. Yeah. And the moon was out, and we both woken up during the night with howls, and they were as if it was proper wolf howls. I mean,
wouldn't that explain my wolf DNA? Only point out.
wolf DNA, mate. Yes.
Wolf
Only
DNA? Hang on, where did you get wolf DNA?
John, in all the in all the hits we got, there was wolf/dog. Now the thing that I found a little bit weird is there was wolf/dog, wolf/domestic dog. Now we do have a few dog walkers in that area, but the weird thing is why couldn't they not narrow it down to dog? That's all I'm saying. Whether they narrowed it down to canine, I don't know.
Well,
but-
remember the domestic dog is a subspecies of the grey wolf.
What?
The grey wolf, Canis lupus, is one of the widest distributed animals in the world, and it has 3 subspecies. One
As you just said
subspecies-
that, it's got
Yeah.
it's got it written here.
Yeah.
It's
One
got it.
subspecies is the domestic dog. One subspecies is the Australian dingo, and all
Wow.
the other subspecies are different regional variations of the grey wolf.
Wow, mate. That's see. Obviously, because I go for logic, I went towards normal dog walkers, but I didn't know that. That's interesting to know that.
So what would
Wow.
that actually point to in your mind then, John? What would, I mean, your
I don't
experience?
I
because
don't
I
know
haven't got
why.
to-
I don't know why they have delineated between dog and domestic dog.
It's whether they can't actually see that there's 2 hits, that there's 2 different wolf and dog. That's one, and then wolf and domestic dog. So it's 2 different categories completely on there. So I'm thinking normal dog, and whether it's just a more normal dog or whether I missed something and went, actually, holy crap, is it?
I would ask them. I'd write back to them and say, why have you
That's actually a very
delineated
good idea.
between?
Yeah.
Because
That's actually a very good idea.
it is quite likely to be just the way that, especially if you said it's in Portugal, didn't you? The company.
The lab is, yeah.
So it's quite possible if it was done by people who are Portuguese, who speak a different language to us, their nuances are likely to be different.
Hold on, whoa. I'm now just reading now. The wolf was detected in the footprint. In the big footprint.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Still trying not to use really hard curse words. There's always teeth.
But I was just looking.
The
Yeah.
wolf was in the footprint.
So that wolf DNA or dog DNA, normal dog pet DNA, was in that footprint. I've
Which
just read that.
could be, last night somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody.
Harlem?
Sorry?
It was either Harlem or Jackie we had on last night.
Yeah, I know. I remember, but I can't remember which of them it was.
Oh, okay.
And one of you guys was saying that it could be a keeper from the local zoo walking out with his colleague. And I know I then cast aspersions on the creationist zoo in Somerset that I really approve of. But it could be another piece of circumstantial evidence towards having a zookeeper take his dog out for a walk at the end of the day and having wolf shit and some sort of old world primate. Okay, droppings if you prefer, Daniel. I won't use the
That's all right. Yeah, it's
teasing Daniel is one of my new hobbies. I enjoy it.
You want to have so much fun at the event then, John.
Oh, I'm going to, my dear boy. I'm looking forward to it massively. And don't worry, I'm not allowing anybody to go for a walk after dark.
Good.
Especially as I can't walk, so this will probably mess that idea up. But yeah, I think I would like to
find the door. Sorry, guys.
But remember, all dogs are wolves. Sorry?
Darren forgot to invite one person.
I was a bit quiet, which is not like me, but there you go.
Really, Darren?
Yes, you're a man of few words, Darren.
I know, John. I know. I must learn to speak up more. I know.
John,
Jesus, I think me and Darren are going to have a lot of.
I think Darren's
what
going to
we
need
want now
some
is a professional friend.
security at the event.
I am
think
security
you're-
at the event. What we need now then is a professional opinion from John. If you found wolf DNA in a footprint in the UK in a very low frequented woodland setting, what would your suspicions be of that, John, in a professional
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, should it be there in a footprint? Would you expect it to be there? Would you not
None of it
expect
should be there.
to? Or what?
The only way it could be in a footprint, and there's one thing I didn't even think of last night when we were talking about it. The footprint that I've seen photos of and I've seen your plaster cast of, that's the one we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
There are no signs of it having tracking or whatever you call it. What do you call it? The corrugations in footprint, in shoe soles.
Tread lines. Is it
There's
treads?
no
Yeah.
sign of that.
No, there's not. And it's in
Interesting.
the actual cast, and I'll have this at the event for you guys to see. And
Yeah.
it's toes. It's toes. Whether when it's actually in the ground, you can't see the actual definition. I would say, and this is me out on a complete limb here, if I got it to a lab, which I'm still trying to work on, I reckon we would find skin ridge details.
Have you looked with a magnifying glass or whatever just to look
Haven't
for
yet, no.
dermal ridges?
Haven't yet, because I've been dealing with the DNA.
I've got one footprint that was given to me in Orange County in Texas, and you can actually see the dermal ridges in that, and that's mind blowing. My other Bigfoot footprints, to be quite honest, could have been done by anybody, but you can see the dermal ridges on that, which is totally right. But my first thing to say is there's no sign of it being shoes, and you've just said you can see the toes. And the other thing is, most animals that go around barefoot are better at humans for avoiding dog shit. People who wear shoes don't look where they're going, which is why you end up treading dog shit into your carpet. Animals that walk barefoot don't like messing up their feet, so they don't. So that, if you think of those two things, yes, Daniel, if I amused you somehow, Daniel.
He's off again, isn't he? He's off again. I was going to say, when you're walking barefoot, you avoid dog shit because it's horrible when it squashes through your toes. But I didn't want to make him laugh.
No, I was trying not to say something like that as well. I was really trying not to make him laugh.
My God, last night my eyes were sore, guys. My eyes were sore last night. Honestly, my eyes were really sore.
By the way, have you heard anything more from the person who shall not be named?
Yes and no, and I will tell you after the live.
I was just going to say,
we'll have 5 minutes of the live.
If you do hear something from him that you don't like, you just say that your Uncle Darren and your Uncle John want to know, does he still want to have kneecap?
Yes. Would you really like to go in the woods in the dark? What was that? Poor Daniel.
Oh my God.
Mind you, do you want to see a funny one? Look, I'm pointing at Luke now. Luke? it works better if you do this. Look. Right. Look. Anyway. Poor Luke. The other night when the welcome talk at Shore House, I mean, bear in mind there's 45 people plus staff, so there's over 50 people, and Luke and his mum standing over that corner. I kept looking over and going,
Yeah.
both, like, the people standing either side of them thought they were a couple of nothing.
What a horrible man, Darren. I feel very sorry for him.
Yeah,
So do
I'm
I,
so
so
sorry
do
for
I.
Darren, Luke.
That's all right. I'm used to him.
Now, Darren, you know you were talking about Banff.
About what, mate?
I've never been able to pronounce it. Banff in Scotland.
Banff, yes, Banff, yep. Yep.
I've got another really freaky animal story from Banff. Have you
Really
heard
good
about?
one. Brilliant. Come on.
Have you heard about the Earthhounds?
I have something about them. Yes, I have. Yeah, the ones from hell.
No, those are the Zhounds down in Devonshire. Now, the Earthhounds are supposed to be an animal that looks like a cross between a ferret and a Jack Russell, that's supposed to live underground in Banffshire and have evolved to eat freshly buried corpses.
Oh,
Now,
that's interesting. I did hear something about this. I'm sure.
well, first of all, evolution doesn't work that fast. There's been human beings digging graves in Banffshire for no more than a couple of thousand years, and it takes a hell of a lot longer for something to evolve. But if you can imagine that there is a creature like a giant ferret that lives in that part of Scotland and that probably evolved to eat mole, because moles are the easiest source of protein living underground, then suddenly you've got a whole new animal on the British list that's only known through a piece of rather gruesome folklore. And that's one of those things that I really want to chase up one of these days. Because I know how I've got quite a lot on that. I know how we do it. I just haven't got around to doing it yet.
Go in the graveyard and dig up some graves.
No, what you do is go into the pub next to the graveyard and make friends with some grave diggers and get to find out whether their stories match up with any of these. And then, yes, Daniel? And then slip a fiver to one of the grave diggers and get them, because they dig the graves in advance of the funeral. What you want to do is to find out when they... Dear Lord, this is terrible.
You're not going to be like this on the event, are you, Daniel?
No, I will.
What you want?
I find that really fascinating. That's a really fascinating thing.
And what you can do, you can get trail cameras that work in dead darkness because they've got an infrared. Now, forgive me, I can never remember if it's infrared or ultraviolet. It's whichever one we can't see.
Infrared.
Yeah. And they can send messages with the pictures out from mobile phones. So what you need to do is bribe the grave digger to let us shove them into a couple of the different graves as they dig them.
Wow.
And see what the hell happens.
Wow.
That's a
That-
project I've wanted to do for
Wow.
years. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I thought it might.
No,
I
mate,
That's
that's
right.
what.
That's right. Yeah.
No. This is. I mean, I'm sure Paul's going to agree with me here. I mean, when we started this off in January of this year, this conversation here for me would have been a complete dream. What do you say, Paul?
Yeah, definitely. It's like brothers, our roots, aren't they? Really, and this is another step. Like I was saying, the Bigfoot and all these things are a very small part of a very big supernatural circle, isn't it? Whether
Yeah.
we'll ever get to understand all of it is a different matter. Whether we'll live long enough to understand, so because I think it's forever evolving. As we evolve, so I think things like that evolve.
As
So will we ever get the answer?
Probably
would-
not, but it doesn't stop us looking.
I will very, very quickly say, as you've said about evolving, I've kind of come up with a theory for Bigfoot here in the UK, because I've been trying to wrap my brain out for however long now to try and come up with a kind of sensible, logical answer on where and Bigfoot came from for here in the UK. Now I know that's a very big question, but I will say this: that old world monkeys, and I may have said this before, lived here in the UK. They have, and how long ago that was, I have no idea. I'll have to do more research into it. But who's to say that old world monkeys have evolved here in the UK to become our modern day Bigfoot, to become our Bigfoot like in America? I just thought it was very, very, very interesting point to bring up.
If you think it must have evolved to walk on, would make whether it's it's a wolf or it would have evolved to stand up on 2 feet rather than running on all 4 like a bear does.
Yeah.
If you imagine a bear, if a bear was to stand up, you could prefer because of the sheer height and the ferocity of the shape of it. And bears can walk along on their 2 feet. They, evolution would say that Bigfoot has to. It's had to evolve because the world's changed. So it would have had to evolve on its way through.
Yeah. It would have that's what I like about it, and the reason why I love this mystery so much, and there is so much more. And there's so much more out there that I really, really enjoy it.
You've got to start looking at the footprint, the dog prints as well, Daniel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where they're going, I think after what John said tonight.
There was.
But I wonder whether our brain. I wonder whether we're ever enough to understand what we're seeing in front of us.
Yeah.
Whether we can decipher or decode it.
I will mention this now. I haven't said this at all. Yeah, I really haven't. And I haven't released it at all. But when the day we found that footprint, and the reason why I haven't said this is because it's unreal on whether it was our eyes or not. We walked probably about 5 minutes from the footprint, and this was on our first day here. And probably about 15 minutes along the trail, I realised that loads of ferns have been turned over. So I find, that's weird. It's obviously something walking through. And I turned to one place, and Jill, my partner in crime, looks down and says, "What's this?" I go, Hold on a minute. That looks like a very, very big dog print, doesn't it? Now I can my mind goes to cat. That this was a cat print, and I have photos of these. Now the reason why I haven't said it is because this investigation has gone off on a completely different way. I've kind of parked it to the side. But the fact that I found these different prints strikes a bit more to me. Now, there was definition in this print. Wasn't deep enough for eDNA. It was on the top for mud. It won enough to cast. It was just an idea on what this print looked like. Now, I said to her, this has got to be a blimmin' big dog. Literally, it's the size of my hand, and my hand's quite small, but it was a massive pad and paws. I'm like, I don't know, and it's just something that I have always kept, but I didn't want to say anything, and I
Has it
haven't
got
said
claws
anything.
in it, or no claws?
We didn't see claws, but we did see a second one that was in front. The one now's defined, but it was definitely a paw. So it could have been like a very, very big dog, like a German Shepherd. But
I mean,
I've read,
rule of thumb, yeah. I mean, with a dog, you'll 90% time see claws coming out because the dog can't retract its claws like a cat can. So
yeah,
you know when
it
you're
wasn't
looking for
claws.
a cat. That's how when I was up the 10-acre field and
Yep.
I was stalking the deer, I knew it wasn't a dog. One, the print was wide, and two, there was no claws in it. So I knew I was stalking something, and it was stalking something else. Yeah.
I think.
Well, you're always going to get that. You're always going to get that. I mean,
Yeah.
I did have a very good friend, I think I said a couple of weeks ago. He used to have a pet shop in Cosham. Or was I saying it's someone else? And he used to keep all exotic pets and whatever, pythons,
Oh yeah, he did say that.
boa constrictors and everything. And he said they used to keep escaping into the cellar. He said, and one he retrieved 2 years later. He said it had been down the 2 years and lived perfectly fine. It came out, it was really fat and so forth. But he said a couple of them escaped. He says male and female, and they never found them again. He said he's pretty sure they're still living down there somewhere. Yeah. So you know, in Portsmouth, you have possibly in the drains or behind the walls of cellars, pythons living.
Wow.
Now, another reason I like to keep these things in the back of my mind is when people call me and they say, "Oh, I've got a ghost," I can hear banging around in the walls in my basement. I like to sort of explore the idea that maybe it is an actual, it could be a snake. You don't know, do you? But I mean, the guy below me when I lived in Fawcett Road many years ago, he used to have snakes and whatever, and they were always escaping, and they used to end up in the local pub.
Also remember, as we evolved, the animals have had to change with us because we're encroaching into their habitat. So they've had to evolve, if the same rate, or quicker than we have, because as we're encroaching into their habitat, their style of hunting, food, you know, all their dens and all of that, and they're having to evolve because they need to work out new ways of hunting. Like you were saying, Darren, you know, they need to work out new ways of hunting, new ways of hiding, new ways to blend in. So they have to evolve quicker than we do because all we do is just build straight on their land, don't we?
Do you remember the original film?
Right.
what was it? Just in about the rabbits. Watership Down, the original one. My dad took me to the cinema to see that. And do you know what? That is a prominent thing in the back of my mind, how the bulldozers moved in and these little rabbits had to all leave their homes and they had no say in it whatsoever. Yeah. And it's exactly bloody flies. There's another one gone. That's exactly what I would imagine. Well, I could definitely say for sure we would be doing if these things are living in certain areas. And I'll tell you now, if I am ever out and I ever discover somewhere where it's living or I see a real confirmed sighting, I'll tell people on here, but I won't be publicising it any further. I can assure you of that. Because we live in such a corrupt, toxic country that money is more important than human life, yet alone an animal. And if they can get billions of pounds off a company to put more solar farms up and kick something that's near enough extinct and undocumented, such as a Bigfoot, out of its environment, they'll do it. So, you know, it's not going to protect it by allowing the government to know it's there. So don't let anybody know it's there. Leave it in peace. And
I, Darren, I will be very, very interested when and if we can get to the forest. I'll be very, very interested to see.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
The opinions of all of us, because as I said yesterday, I'm taking it as a proper expedition. I'm taking all my equipment, and I'll be really, really interested to see what we've seen, because I haven't been there for a while, so there could be some new stuff there.
Oh,
Who knows?
There could well be, yeah. I mean, that could be a good thing, because if there is something there of its nature, it definitely knows you've been there. I can guarantee that 101%.
Yeah.
However, it may be sensible enough to keep out of your way, because a human being is the most dangerous predator on this planet. You know, we say, oh, tigers kill for fun. Well, we kill for a lot more reasons than that, don't we? You know, just, I mean, look through the atrocities of the human regime. So it may be sensible enough that it's kept out of your way, and then it's realised, oh, he's not coming back so soon. So it may now want to investigate what you are, who you are, and where you've actually been, and what you've been doing, and what you may have left behind. If it does, then the chances are there'll be quite a bit more evidence there to find and pick up next time you go, which would be very, very interesting. If we were to find a few 18-inch footsteps,
that would be huge.
Yeah. Another thing you've got to remember is, with the weather patterns we're getting at the moment, if you was to walk down there now, within 30 minutes, they would be completely destroyed by hailstones. So a lot of evidence, unfortunately, is going to get damaged.
Yeah.
You know,
but let's say that this creature is using, as I said yesterday, as its hunting ground. It's gonna return.
Yeah. Now, a very interesting thing that
that's if it's not gone into hibernation. It hasn't gone into hibernation.
It could have. But something I've learned tonight, and I should have really thought of it before. Well, I've seen these footprints in various forests up and down the UK. The latest I've seen was in Knoll Woods by Knoll Village Cemetery. The area Luke took me over when we did the lives, Paul, yeah? And I think I may have pictures of these footprints on my phone still. And the weird thing was, at the same time, my phone rang. And I answered it, and it was the police. And you can go back, and this is another great thing about the lives. Go back on the lives, and you will see that we had one. I was talking about this. apparently my phone, while it had been in my back pocket, had been calling the police constantly. So the police rang me back to make sure I was okay. Now, when you walk up there, you walk on the main bit. Now they've erected a fence around where it's still a mental patient's hospital. Yeah, it's a nut farm basically, and it was an asylum before they closed it down and developed into properties. It's a really interesting place. But not so long ago, a load of the inmates escaped and they built their own makeshift lodges in the actual woods. Now, the staff knew that they'd done this and they just let them away with it until they murdered about 4 staff, including a doctor that's buried in the cemetery. Now, when they fenced that bit off now, and it says, oh, no trespassers and whatever. Well, the gate was open, so we just walked through it anyway. And when we got up through that gate, the atmosphere changed, and that's when my phone started calling 999 for no apparent reason. And the police gave me back. We then found the structures. Molly then went a little bit strange, and she was staring at a tree that Luke was picking up with the SLS. She was staring at it. I could sense something there, but couldn't see it. Down the track, we found a couple of footprints, which were about that size. But the thing I've learned, which I should have thought in my thick skull, they didn't have any shoe tread on them. So I've learned a very valuable lesson tonight. No shoe tread whatsoever, yeah? And it wasn't flat like a shoe would be. It was all, but you could see the clear outline of the foot. So yeah.
in a Bigfoot footprint, and again, this is from American. I don't know if it's us. There is certain details in the footprint that can indicate slight indications that you're on the right track, and this one did have bumps in it. And I don't know, Way would note the Patterson Gimlin film, the most famous Bigfoot evidence, has that same ridge on it, has the same. So if you're saying what's right, Darren,
yeah,
it's very convenient that's yeah.
Well, this part of the woodland is actually fenced off, and there's gates all around it saying "Do not enter" and so forth. And of course,
protected land for it, maybe.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
But how do you know? Yeah, but how do you know that the 999 call was not from someone that was murdered, trying to seek help?
That's another thing, mate.
Just see how the spirit works.
That was the day.
Do you see how it's like when you called me? Do you remember you asked me to see if I could connect and find what was following you? Do you remember that was that night, wasn't it? And I came up with all that with the spirits and all of that. So how do you know that phone call wasn't made by one of them for help?
That brings a whole new meaning onto it, doesn't it? That really
but
does
it's the same.
Give you,
but it's
and
the
if
same as us returning back to the caravan, wasn't it? Sorry, go on, mate.
Yeah. Paul and Jen have got a caravan. They've just spent a week over at Hayling Islands, which is just down the road from me. And did you get it in storage at Chichester?
Yeah, she's away for the winter now.
Nice one, mate. Anyway, they've obviously gone out for the day, got back to it, and Paul, just tell them what you told us, mate.
We just said we came onto the campsite with the caravan, and knowing that we don't leave lights are out, everything's off. And as we're pulling up to, I said to Jen, "There's a light on in the caravan." Well, that's strange because we don't leave lights on. So as I got out of the car, I said to her, "Stay there, let me get out." So I got out and I could hear voices inside the caravan. And I'm thinking, what is this? So I've unlocked it because it's all still locked, everything in the same position. Got into the van and the television's on. And when I looked around, I looked up and down the caravan, couldn't see anybody in there, and then noticed that the bed had been ruffled, like someone had sat on the bed watching the TV, but the whole caravan was locked down.
Oh my god.
So,
How
we
do you
was
explain these
a
things?
bit surprised.
That's
How do you explain these things?
But that's like your phone call to the police. It's like, like Jen said, it could have been someone that was murdered. It's help.
Mind-boggling.
So,
That's mind-boggling. Because, I mean, it really, 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 really happened. I've got the evidence on my phone, and I'm sure if you wanted to, you could check it out with Hampshire Police. You know,
yeah.
you wanted to prove it was real. It's never happened before, and it's never happened again.
It was all,
And
it's
I always
also
think-
like my friend that time travelled, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, how do you explain
How do you
these
explain that? I've no idea.
things? How do
And, everything he described in his time travel, and when I followed it up and Googled it and searched the records and all of that of the village, it all came true. It was there. There's a friend of mine, Daniel, that time travelled.
wow.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard this one, have you, mate?
Haven't no.
Oh, you may enjoy this
The most
one.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing story.
Was it? Wow.
Do you want me
Tell
to
it,
say, Darren, or
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like
I have a friend that
Daniel's
I have.
doing paranormal, and he's trying to link it, so this will give him a good idea.
So I have a very good friend of mine I've known for about 30 odd years. A real true, real down to earth guy. But all of us, very down to earth. He's very much into walking and taking photos and nature. So he was talking to friends in his office. Well, I've got a cottage up in Yorkshire in a place called Craven. He said, "You're welcome to use the cottage if you want to, and help yourself to a week-long weekend there." So it's all right, I will do. So on a Friday, he set off, drove up to Yorkshire, found this bungalow, this cottage in Yorkshire in Craven. It's a little tiny village called Craven. So he settled in and thought, "Oh, I know what I do. I'll go for a little drive around, have a little look." So he drove down this country lane, came to a T-junction, looked left and right, and he's in the middle of the village. Right opposite him is a paper shop and a cake shop, and on the left-hand side. So on the Saturday, he was wandering around the moors and taking photographs, and decided that evening he was going to have a shower to the pub. So he put it in his sat-nav like he did on the Friday, on the road, came to the T-junction, turned left, parked up in a car park that was slightly higher than the pub, walked down the path, opened the door of the pub. The pub was called Craven in Heifer, which is the heifer, the cow, which is where they come from up there. So he walks in, barman standing right in front of him. When he opened the door, he could see the barman, and he's standing with his arms crossed, just looking straight at the door. Didn't acknowledge him, didn't do anything like that. So he walked in the evening, I'll have a pint of bitter. So the barman pours out the bitter, gives him his bitter. So my mate gives him the £5 note. He opens a wooden till, shuts the drawer, and just stands there looking like at the front door. He thinks, "Cool, I got bitter." So anyway, Karen goes and sits down, starts reading his newspaper. Still in the same place, looking down the sort of the walkway straight at the front door. And he's thinking, "Well, this is a bit odd." They feel, "Oh, I know what I do, a fruit machine." And he described it as being very dimly lit pub, not very bright, but very dimly lit. So he goes over to the fruit machine and asks Goes, doesn't work. Says, oh, okay, I'll put some music on. He goes to the music, it doesn't work. And then the barman returns looking to the front door. So as he's got his back to the front door opens and then shuts. He thinks, well, thank God for that. Somebody's come in the pub. So he turns round, walks a little bit down, and either side of the of the walkway, there's half moon seats, you know, like a little bit of like a snug all the way around. So as he's gone to get his pint, he's drunk up and thought, oh, I don't know, I'll go back. And so he goes back up to the barman. He says, oh, I'll have a pint of beer, please. So the barman pours it out, gives him a $5, opens the wooden door, puts it back in, shuts the till, and he's like, blimey, £5 a pint. And as he turns round, there's 25 people sitting in the pub. Now he's heard the door shut, so he's wandered back to his table, noticing they've all got a drink that's half drunk. So he's thinking, what on earth's going on here? So he sat down, the barman's still looking straight at the door. He thinks, I know what I'll do, I'll go for a wee. So he walks down past the barman, round the bar, up some, so the toilet was sort of slightly outside. So he's opened the door to go outside to the toilet, and this dog starts to have a go at him. So he shuts the door, comes back down, grabs his pocket. As he turns around, the front door slams shut, and he's right literally a split second behind the door shuts. So he goes out the door, shuts the door. No, yeah, all these people are gone. No one, 25 people gone. It's all the way up the night. Lays there all night thinking about this. Can't be right. This, what's happened? Am I tired? Is it something? So he wakes up eventually in the morning, thinks, right, I'm going to go back there. So he gets in his car, starts it up, puts the sat nav on, follows the sat nav. So sure enough, down the country lane, comes to a T junction. There's the pub on the left and the newsagents, the cake shop, and all of that. So he parks into the pub car park, comes back down to the pub. It's all boarded up. So he's sort of looking at it, thinking, what? Everything's boarded up. So he goes to a little garage next door, and he says to the bloke working on a car, he says, morning, mate, how long's the pub been boarded out? He said, why? Why do you need to know? He said, I'm just doing a local history search, and I just wondered, I was in the area. So he said, it's been shut about 70 or 80 years, the pub. It's never been opened since. And he's like, he sort of thinks about it, comes all the way home, and he gets home, goes home, and then sort of he's thinking about it, thinking, how can that be? I was in the pub, the sat nav. So he gives his coordinates to his brother, because I said to him, what do these people look like? He said they were like dressed in 1930s clothing. That's the only way he could describe it. These 25 were in these 1930 type clothes. So he goes, tells his brother, thinks you're going to think I'm mad, but he tells his brother the story. So his brother said, well, I'll go there. So his brother goes there, finds the cottage, stays there, goes into the village. Sure enough, there's a pub in the car park. It's a whole lively pub, full of youngsters there, like a modern day pub. He goes up to the bar, buys a couple of cocktails, whatever, goes and sits with his partner, they're chatting away. He must be something wrong. This is not right. This is like a modern day pub. He goes back, has a few more drinks, then they drive back to the cottage. So as he gets out, they go into the cottage, and as he's going to bed, he takes his change out of his pocket, puts it in the bedside cabinet, and sees that he was paid in 1930s pennies. In his change. So he then phoned me and said, what do you think? Because it's driving me crazy. So I started to do a bit of digging. So I rung up the local church in Craven and asked them, say, just doing a local history search, I'm just wondering about the history of the pub. He said, you don't need to know anything, was the answer on the phone. It's nothing to do with you. So I'm thinking, well, that's not a very good answer. So I did some digging, and it took me ages, took me a long time to find out. So in 1930, Craven was a mining village, in Yorkshire. 25 people had finished their mining shift, met their wives, and they were wandering to the pub, the Craven in Heifer, when the ground collapsed and swallowed them and killed all 25 of them.
Wow.
So when I studied
That's incredible.
parapsychology, listen, when I studied parapsychology, there was a woman there from NASA, a professor from NASA, and she was talking about time travel. Yeah, explaining how the Americans have been practicing from the Second World War, if not earlier, on time travel, how to project people or, war machines through time and bring them back again. So I told her the story, and she said, "One common that this happens." To her and the research, we live a parallel lifeline, so we have two lifelines that travel together, and at some specific stage, they must cross. So they don't know whether we travel forward in time or we go back in time. And she reckons that my friend went back in time, 1930s, when these people would have been in the pub, and hence why it was thoroughly let. And the people and the dog barking, she said it's the warning to get out of the pub before that parallel line. That it could be that these people that go missing have gone back in time, but missed going back to modern day. That's why they can never find them.
That's amazing.
And that's a true story. It's mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, that
America's famous for practicing time travel.
That's going to take a while to get head around.
It's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And even like when I did the history check and found out 25 people were killed in what would have been a tunnel collapse in High Street of Craven, that swallowed the 25 people that would have met in the pub on that night because they would have had a drink at the end of a busy week. But they were all lost. 25 people in 1930.
Wow. That is amazing. Yeah.
Lots of different stories.
I will not be able to sleep now, Paul. Well done.
You'll be up laughing all night, mate.
But obviously no harm came to him. But she reckoned the dog barking, what forced him to actually leave the property at that specific time, was the second he went outside.
Yeah.
It was back into modern time. There was none of them there.
Yeah. Wow. That is a story in itself.
I mean, how can you? I mean, this is credible people. This is 100% real.
Yeah.
Nobody on earth.
30 years I've known him.
Is going to believe it.
Wow.
Because it's too strange. No, it's out of their comfort zone. This is why they do not believe ghost stories. It's out of their comfort zone. The same as they refuse that they could possibly be big cats or Bigfoot, because it's out of their comfort zone. Plus the fact when they're walking through the woods, if they stick their head in the sand like the ostrich, then it's not going to harm them, is it? Out of sight, out of mind. And it's a true saying.
Yeah.
It is.
And one thing I will point out is you may have seen that I now have UFOs up on my wall.
I do.
I thought you'd sneezed on your wall. But where Darren went to Rendle, when you go to Rendlesham Forest, where Darren went, my brother-in-law and all of that live up there in Suffolk and all of that, and the UFO site.
Unbelievable.
There are another all the way around American Air Force Base at Lakenheath, and there's also Lakenheath and can't think of the other one. When you get near it,
Mildenhall.
Sorry, Mildenhall. That's it.
Mildenhall
goes down.
Ben Waters. That's right. Yeah. And when you get near there, do you know your phone loses signal for 5 minutes as you're passing the airbase?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
You get no signal out, no signal in. So if they're blocking your phone signal, what also are they hiding there? Darren will tell you, he's been to Rendlesham. And that's the strangest forest to be wandering in.
It's a very
Hey,
strange
Darren.
forest.
Yeah. Have you been
Very,
there,
yeah.
John?
I'm sure he has. Yeah. Yeah, you'll agree with the
What a
sense on
strange
that,
forest,
isn't it?
isn't it?
It's
It's a
very
very
strange.
strange place.
I went there with Larry Warren, which makes it even stranger.
Very
Wow.
odd place.
I was given a warning that not everything in the forest is friendly, so beware.
No.
Oh,
Wow.
Christ. It's not.
If you see lights in the night time in the forest, don't go in there. That's what I've been told, because they are practicing
It's also
there still,
yeah.
which you do want to get involved with.
Yep.
It's also, the Americans told you it was in one place and it completely wasn't in that place. It was somewhere different in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
they told you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thing is,
So
these pilots
they're
and
obviously
our own personnel that saw it are not just Joe Public. They are professional airmen. These are trained professional airmen to train to see what an aeroplane looks like. And they can look up into the night sky and just purely by the lights, they can tell you what make and model of aircraft it is. Now, these men are supposedly to have mistaken a UFO for Orford Ness Lighthouse. I
can't
think
see it from there.
there's only one thing you can say to that. That's bollocks. Yeah. That is
Yeah.
discrediting a professional person in their capacity as an IFM. These are professionals. Plus the fact the sergeant major was out that night and they got right on top of the craft and they could describe what it looked like. The next day, the same sergeant major is in the office with these two strange gentlemen trying to tell everybody that was on duty that night that nothing happened. They tried to disprove it. And because everybody said, well, obviously something happened, we saw it, they turned around then and changed tactics and went, no, it was Orford Ness Lighthouse. If you haven't got it, get the book Sky Crash. You will really, really love it. It is unbelievable. These two women basically that decided they were going to take up researching the landing, the whatever happened. They went round to the senior copper's house the first time and he invited them in to sit at the kitchen table and looked at them as if they were fools. He looked at them and laughed at them in their own faces.
Wow.
So to say, you are not going to find out jack shit on this. Yeah. The next time they approached his house, he invited them in and had them arrested and locked up because they were getting too close. Simple as. It is it's worth reading. Sky Crash. Another guy that I've spoken to, which you can speak to, is Ronnie Dugdale. He is a serious player in Rendlesham. He's done all the talks. He's been on all the tellies and things like that. Really nice guy, Ronnie Dugdale. Really nice guy. And he's the one that actually told me, he says, look, Darren, you should be careful. He says, not that everything in the forest is friendly. He said, there's a lot of unfriendly out there. If there's lights on, don't go into the woods. Keep out of it. He's told me other stuff as well, which I wouldn't repeat anywhere out of confidence. But I have actually had, because I do a lot of digging. And I'm sat here at 4 or 5 in the morning some days, and I've had, like I said, I'm still to make the film because I've got to. It's so sensitive. If I mention a name or a voice or an event, it could be linked, and it could mean that they're going to have a visit from whoever. Do you know what I mean? So the video will be coming out. I'm not going to ever put anybody in it.
It's one of those things with, unfortunately, and we've said this so many times, there are people out there that will take what, and it's like we've had to be extremely careful with what we've said, and and after the live, I'll say something where we've had to be so careful, and I will tell you, the people that know the forest are this many.
Yeah.
5 people
So,
know the location of that forest.
The first thing I said to you, Daniel, on that Saturday when you rang me was, do not tell anybody, because you will get walked over. I'll tell you a really quick one, because we are running out of time, and it's not paranormal, but I was working in a sales capacity in an office in Southampton. It's quite a high office block. I had to use a lift. The lift shaft came up. Our office came off to the right. There was another empty office to the left. And all of a sudden, one day we came in there. Now, our company was called Ventura One. All right. Ventura One. This was a number of years ago. Anyway, there's people taking computer equipment in and out of this office next door and setting it all up and everything. And this went on for a couple of months. Anyway, one day I started talking to the young guys next door. All right, mate, having a joke. I said, what are you lot doing in there? Yeah, because it's you've got an awful lot of equipment. He said, I'm not allowed to tell you. He says, but come through and have a look. And I went through, and they had setups of like bridges and boats and casinos or whatever. He says, there's a new P&O cruise ship going to be launched. He says, and this is all the computer equipment that's going onto the ship. Everything from the casinos to the bars to the fruit machines to the navigational equipment, in joint with Ray Marine and so forth, will be done here. He said, we are doing the whole ship's computer. I said, what's it going to be called? He said, we don't know yet. They haven't decided, but they're thinking of it. Anyway, another month or so went through, and he went, here, come here. And I went through, and he went, look, this is the main bridge computer. He said, this is the big one. He said, we know the name. I said, what's it going to be called? He said, it's going to be called Ventura. I went, wow, that's amazing, yeah? Because we were Ventura One. I'm like, wow. So I've gone through, and boss has gone, thanks. That's a bit strange. Anyway, about 6 months goes by. These guys have cleared out and everything, and the ship hasn't been launched. Nobody's heard of it or anything, apart from me, yeah? And Frank goes, Steve, I've gone, what? You've gone, look, just got a letter from P&O. I went, what? He says, they're threatening us legal action for stealing their name. I said, what? He says, we've been Ventura One for the last 5 years. I says, yeah. He says, and P&O are deciding that's their name, and we are in breach of copyright, so they're going to take us to court. I said, you're joking. He said, no, I'm going to fight this. He said, because I've been Ventura 4 or 5 years. He says, and anyway, he gets our solicitor in, and I'm sat there, and he says, yeah, he says, Frank, he says, you've been Ventura One, yeah, he says, it's basically because they've used the office next door to you, they've seen your name on the wall, and they've decided they're going to use that name. Frank went, what a I mean, it's too coincidental, isn't it? 1 minute they don't know what the ship's going to be called, and then all of a sudden it's your name, and they're working next door to you. Yeah. So he says, yeah, he says, P&O, he says, completely in the wrong. I understand completely. He says, but you'll never win. He says, what do you mean? He says, you'll spend millions and you'll never win. He said, they have barristers on the payroll. Yeah. He said, they're the best in the world. He says, you will never, ever win. So we had to change our name because of that. Now, that is just another case of a big company or a big corporation bullying an individual. And that is personal experience. And that is why I said to Daniel, when he first said to me, oh, amazing news, I said, don't tell anybody where that forest is. I said, because you will have clues. I mean, look how quick you've gone to China. Believe me, there have been people driving past these woods in your area and your house if you don't watch out, right? And they're trying to figure out where these woods are as we speak. So be very, very careful.
There is one person that I'm keeping very, very close eye on. I'll say that.
Yeah. These people are. Plus the fact, remember other people are going to get approached. Or if you can give us a bit of information, yeah, we'll pay you for the information. Here's $2,000, yeah. Oh yeah, keep your mouth shut, yeah. Brilliant stuff, yeah. And then that person that takes the money for being a grass, which is nothing better than a grass, they don't realise the paper's also going to expose them for grassing up the city. So, you know, they don't care, mate, as long as they get a story.
No, yeah, it's true, yeah.
Don't tell them anything. Anybody contacts you, tell them bugger all, mate. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, yeah, same here. I'm going to end the live now anyway. Thanks everybody for watching us. It's much appreciated. If you want to find out any more, or you're interested in cryptids or whatever, we do have the event coming up on the 18th of November. So tomorrow's the end of October. Get in contact with Daniel. John Downs, magical man. He runs Centre for 14th Zoology, Research and whatever. I'm sure if he can't answer anything on cryptids, nobody can. Paul, host for Ghosts, he's up in, well, what are you, Croydon area, aren't you, Paul? Mainly? That's sort of, well, yeah. So if you have any issues up there or any questions, host for Ghosts on Facebook, get in contact with him. Myself, Luke, South Coast Ghosts, we're based in Portsmouth. And I also am an investigator for paranation.co.uk. If you want to come and join us on an event, you're a newbie, you're a team, whatever, you want to come on a free one, you want to come on a paid one, a really famous location or something like Shepton Mallet, we spoke about, please feel free. We'd love to have you. We're all here under the umbrella of Poppy. Para Unified Paranormal Investigators, that's what we are. We're all friends. We all pursue the truth of what we know. Yeah. Apart from Daniel, because obviously he's got a funny cat. We're actually looking forward at the moment at we're interested as well. I think I can speak for everybody here on how Daniel's wall is proceeding and progressing over the next few months. We've got rid of one photograph and we've now got a UFO up in the background. We've got a nice big black cat there. I wouldn't want to stroke it, but there you go. Please share. Please give us a like. If you're watching this on record, thank you ever so much for watching, especially if you've got this far. It's painful enough for us, but it must be really bad for you. It means you enjoy it. I'm very tired now. Which is what we're all about. Thanks so much, guys, and I'm going to end the live now.